I asked women over the age of 40 what are their biggest regrets in life, and these are some of the answers that I got. So if you are new here, my name is India. I go by BME Queen here on the internet, and I am about to turn 30. So in a few weeks, or really by the time you're seeing this video, because it is Vlogmas, I am going to be turning 30 years old, and I've been doing a lot of reflection in my life and trying to figure out if I feel like I'm on the right path, which, spoiler, I do. But one of the things that I really wanted to hear from or hear about from women is their satisfaction with their life and how they think they're living life today. Because I'm sure you are aware that this generation of women are really the first to have agency over their own lives. So not needing a man to get a credit card, to buy a home, to get a job, to really just do whatever it is that they want. So I am very personally interested in how I can maximize my life, right? Take advantage of the moment. I think it really stems from me working in a nursing home when I was very young. So when I was in high school, and I saw a lot of death and just had a lot of death around me. So I am someone that's just really adamant about making the most of my life, and not just my life, but my 30s, especially going into it and within the next few weeks. So I post this video on TikTok. Let's just play the video. If you are a woman in your late 30s and above, what is your biggest regret in life? Like, I don't care if it's big, I don't care if it's small. Like, it could be something like, I regret not buying the designer bag, or like, I regret having kids. Like, I really don't care what the size of the regret is. I just don't want to hear, I have no regrets, because I feel like that's such a bullshit ass answer. So I'm about to turn 30. I've been very reflective in the last few weeks, and I feel like this is the only place people are actually giving like their honest feedback about their life, and like actually talking to the girls and telling them exactly what it is that they genuinely believe and like want other people to know. So what would you tell someone, who's in their 30s like me, what to do, or like what you regret in life? And then also tell me if like you feel like you had another opportunity to do it, or if you like completely lost it. So if it's something like, I always want to travel abroad and I never did, like, do you feel like you ever had that opportunity again, or do you feel like it's completely totally like stripped away from you? Yeah, just like let me know what you think. And a lot of women answered. So obviously this is not a specific study. I do have a background in biomedical engineering, so I know how to conduct a research study. This is not one of them. This was just whoever wanted to answer on TikTok, and I did get a lot of answers. So I'm going to talk about the most common answers that I got and why I think they are really relevant and also really interesting, and some of the stories that women wrote in the comment section. I'm not going to say any names. I'm going to keep everything pretty private. So let's just start off with the number one thing that people said they regretted the most, and that was getting married. This is something that is just so consistent throughout that comment section, and I expected that, honestly. I wasn't surprised by that at all, mainly because on my feed I see a lot of older women talking to their grandchildren. So people that are typically boomers and Gen X that are talking to their, Gen Z or maybe even Gen Alpha granddaughters. And they're like, listen, don't get married. Go live your life. Go be free. Don't be stuck to a man if you don't have to be. Because again, they had to in a lot of scenarios, whereas a lot of women in this generation don't necessarily have to. So I think that's really interesting that most women that I know that have, grandparents that are still alive, like their grandmothers will tell them, do not get married. And the grandfather will say, oh my gosh, being married was the best thing ever. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's very strategic in how the patriarchy is set up. So yeah, I don't think it was shocking that a lot of women said getting married was their biggest regret in life. Most of the women said they got married at a younger-ish age. So I think the average marriage age these days is like 32. And a lot of those women got married in their early 20s. But honestly, I don't even think that they thought that age was a reason why they got married or why they regret getting married, because most of them were divorced. So yeah, not very surprising to me, but interesting how many women said getting married. Now, some of the answers that were surprising to me, and I have so many here listed. The first one was really putting others above myself. I think as women, we are trained by society to be selfless, to be nurturing, to really be caretakers of everyone except for ourselves. And it's so common for you to hear women say like no is a full sentence, because typically a lot of women have a hard time saying no. And also, society hasn't really set us up to be able to say no safely in a lot of different ways, especially if you're saying no to a man. And the other thing that a lot of women tend to do is put people above themselves. So that could be in their career. It could be something like having to choose between their family and their career, and they always choose their family, or having to choose between a relationship and what they really want to do, and they'll choose the relationship. So there's just a lot of scenarios where women are really like, I guess, feel obligated to put others above themselves. And in the end, they end up regretting it because they're like, this thing didn't work out, whatever it was, the job, the relationship, the, familial relationship, whatever. And they end up regretting not choosing themselves sooner. Now, the one thing that I loved about how I phrased the question was, did you have like another opportunity to kind of fix your wrongs or, to actually do the thing that you wanted to do? Like, do you feel like you could, make up for it later on in life? And I asked that specifically because I wanted to know, like, if I were to miss the mark, right? Is it true that, that opportunity will come somewhere later down the line? And a lot of women said when it came to putting others above themselves, they did regret not doing it sooner. And now that they put themselves first and think of themselves first and are considered selfish, they really just do everything for themselves, like take every opportunity. And I think that's really important, especially for younger women that are watching this, to know that the earlier you put yourself first, the more satisfying your life is going to be down the line, because you would have said yes to yourself every single chance that you got, as opposed to putting yourself last or even just secondary to someone else. I think this is also really common with like moms. Like whenever women becomes moms, they kind of have a hard time like finding their identity outside of motherhood, and or just figuring out who they are, even though they are now a mother. So I think that's really interesting that a lot of people said that they were like, I just really regret not putting others by myself or waiting too long to put myself first. The other thing that a lot of people said was not traveling like they wanted. So this was a range of people that said no to different trips, or they said no to traveling abroad, or they said no to living abroad. So a lot of those topics kind of revolved around living abroad and just being and traveling abroad and having the experience, like a worldwide experience. And I am so happy that I actually do not have this problem. I actually have the problem of staying in the house as opposed to going outside. So if you've been following me for a while, then you see that I do travel a lot, or I have traveled a lot in the past, and I've gone to so many different countries. So I'm actually really happy that even though I also did not have the opportunity to travel abroad, which is something that I do regret from from all of my years of school. By the way, I have a PhD in biomedical engineering. So I majored in engineering and biomedical engineering in undergrad and then also in graduate school. So I have a bachelor's, master's, and PhD all in biomedical engineering. And because I was an engineer, I did not have the opportunity to travel abroad because a lot of the classes that were offered abroad weren't, engineering courses. So I really did miss the mark too to travel abroad. So as soon as I became a full-time content creator, so I left engineering, moved to LA, and I was like, all right, what am I going to do now? I decided I'm going to travel. And I really wanted to live out my years traveling because I knew that as I would get older, my travel style would change. So when I was younger and, either in college, I did travel during the summers, but not as much as like living, abroad for 6 months. And then as soon as I did travel though, my style was really like going to everything, doing everything. Like I went to a lot of clubs. I used to drink a lot. I don't drink anymore, but I've been in a lot of different clubs. I've had the like crazy drinks. I've had the crazy nights out, right? I've gone to the museums. I've gone to the different tours. Like I have seen cities like at 3 a.m., so I've had that experience. But now that I'm turning 30, I actually realize, and I talked about this in another video where I talk about like my relationship with travel and just being a travel creator and being in this business, is that my travel style has changed where now I am definitely still explorative, but I am a lot more chill. Like I want to go to another country and sit in the hotel for a day, maybe even 2. Like I'm not in a rush to go and do and see every single thing like I used to be way back when I was in my younger 20s. So I would definitely encourage anyone, especially if you're younger watching this, if you're like trying to decide of, should I go live abroad? Like, is this too big for me? Or is this, just like not something that's made for me? Do it. Please do it. Because you can always just come back home, right? Like that's always the option. Like if you don't like living abroad, you can literally just get on a flight and come back home. But you're never going to be in your 20s and getting drunk at a random hole in the wall bar in Germany. Like it's just not going to happen. Like this is the time for you to do it. And luckily I did have that time to do it because I went as a full-time creator and because I started my own business. But a lot of people don't obviously start their own business, right? So they will graduate, they'll get the job and then they end up being in that job and they're like, oh, well, I just got this job, so I don't want to take off because they're going to think I'm not a good employee, or I don't want to use all my PTO because they're going to think that, I'm just here to collect the check. First of all, you are, and babe, you don't own the business. You can go take a vacation. But anyway, my point is traveling was was definitely a major regret for a lot of women. And I'm really, really happy and grateful that I can be someone that people do look to try to travel and figure out where they want to go and kind of explore the world, because there's so much to see. And if you really don't see someone doing it, especially if someone looking like you doing it, it kind of feels like it is just completely and totally impossible. So I also would urge you to travel, because I was someone who also did not travel abroad, or did not study abroad when I was in school. The other thing that was really interesting that isn't necessarily, it's kind of related to what I said earlier, and that is putting a relationship before my dreams. And there was actually one girl that commented, it was such a great comment, and she had said that she was in a long distance relationship where her partner lived internationally. So she saved all of her money to go and spend time with her partner in, that other country. So any like extra dollars she had, she would be like putting it towards this relationship, and they ended up not being together. And she's like, I regret all of that, because I could have been at home hanging out with my friends. I miss like birthday dinners, I miss parties, I miss like all these different moments within my own family, because I was like saving every dollar to go see this guy that I'm not even with. So obviously it ties in the travel part, and like I'm sure she did get experiences, traveling abroad to see him, but like it's so different when you are traveling for your own enjoyment versus when you're traveling to go see someone, and to be in a relationship, because you're kind of like partnered with them in a way that you have to think of the both of you together as opposed to just thinking about yourself. So a lot of people like put their relationship before their own dreams. So they're like, oh, I didn't go to school because, I was in a relationship and he lived here, and, I wanted to, move and live closer to him, or something kind of crazy, honestly. Like, I personally would not make those decisions, but I'm really happy that the women in the comments like were open enough and vulnerable enough to show that and tell other women that, because there are younger people in the comments that are reading and they're like, thank you so much, I've been considering doing this. But I digress. Anyway, putting a relationship before their own dreams, a lot of people have come back to say they actually regret it. And they don't necessarily regret like not chasing the dreams, is that like they put someone else above their own dreams, which is kind of related to putting others above myself. But this is more of like a romantic relationship specifically before my own dreams, wishes, and everything that I've wanted for myself. Yeah, I am really, really happy that people have been saying that and have been honest about it. But I am luckily enough someone who I have been considered selfish like majority of my life. Maybe it's because I'm the youngest, or maybe because I just don't give a shit. Maybe it's because I'm a Sagittarius, who knows? But I am very, very happy that I have been considered selfish, because I have never put a relationship before my own dreams. In fact, I've actually broken up with a lot of people because I was not willing to give up my dreams, for the sake of that relationship. So I'm happy that I haven't made those decisions myself, but I'm also happy that women are learning from other women who have made those decisions, right? That they're like, I thought that, this was my person. I was supposed to put everything, secondary to this person, because, a relationship is so important. Another woman talked about her relationship with Christianity, and specifically Christianity, but she said, but I guess religion in general, and how her religious upbringing encouraged her to put other people first, specifically like having a man first. And she's been like unlearning that. And because she's been unlearning it, she like now enjoys life a lot more. And I think that also needs to be said, because it is so common for a lot of women to put themselves down and put themselves last, because, they're listening to some word by, some religious group that says that, you have to put your relationship first, and you have to do this, for the sake of your marriage or whatever it may be. I don't know. It's different for everyone. So obviously like your relationship with religion is your decision, but I'm really happy that that woman said that, because other people in the comments were like, I also felt kind of guilty when I started putting myself first, because it was something that went against what I was taught in this religious, concept. So I'm someone who's not particularly religious. I've talked about this in some of my vlogs, throughout Vlogmas. And I like that I'm not religious. I'm like not like looking for any type of religion to really follow. I'm a lot more spiritual. I do respect other people's religious beliefs. However, I do think that when women are told to put other people above themselves, I always ask like, well, is the other gender, is the other partner also being asked to put their relationship before themselves? So typically it doesn't really seem balanced to me from my perspective, but again, up for you to decide. But I do like that woman shared that story in the comments. So moving on, another one of the regrets that women talked about was not investing earlier. So again, these are women in their 40s, 50s that are like trying to make up for lost time, if you will, and make up for the decisions that they didn't make when they were in their 20s, or, even in their 30s. I think investing is such an interesting topic, and I haven't really talked about it in a while on my channel. So let me know if you want me to, re-talk about investing and Also different books and stuff that I've read for my own money mindset and for my own business. But I will say that I actually did learn how to invest, or really like start to look into it and listen to different podcasts and just educate myself on this topic when I was in graduate school, which is such a unique time because most people are just as broke as they were when they were in college. So if you've ever been a broke college student, you've probably been a broke graduate student too when you went to graduate school. But because I had content creation and kind of a side gig, I was able to start to invest early on and even learn about investing, put myself in rooms where other people were also talking about investing. And I think it's so important. However, I think there's balance to everything, because I've also met people in their early 20s that are like, I need to invest and max out my Roth IRA and my retirement fund every single year for the rest of my life. And if I don't do this, like, I'm going to be a failure and blah, blah. Like, you have your whole life to work. You have your whole life to work. And it's so common with Americans, I think, to build their life around their work. But I really try to urge people to build their work around their life. Like, what is the life that you want to live? And then pick a job from there. And it's so backwards in America, but I understand how hard it is to unlearn that. However, I do recognize that I come from a privileged position where I was able to, put money aside to invest for my future. So it's a catch-22. Like, you have to really find the balance between having fun in life, enjoying your 20s, having, great times, making memories with either yourself, by yourself, or with your friends. Like, you can still make fun memories by yourself. So don't think that you have to have a huge group of friends to like go travel abroad. Like, you don't have to. You can go by yourself, babes. But you also should have some type of responsible act, if you will. Like contributing $50 a month to a Roth IRA goes further than what you would think. And a lot of people won't necessarily do that because they're like, oh, it's not enough money. Like, there's so many different ways for you to really invest in your future. I would say though, so most people, when they said they regretted not investing earlier, they were talking about money, but there were quite a few people that said they regretted not investing in themselves in terms of going back to school or going to school, like continuing their education, or investing in their appearance early on. Like, a lot of people were like, I did not wear sunscreen when I was younger, and I'm really pissed about that. And I think of sunscreen, skincare, makeup, hair as an investment, because specifically as a woman, which we're talking about women's regrets, in this society that we live in, beauty is a currency. So when you are a woman, like, your beauty becomes a currency in this lifetime. And I think a lot of people hate hearing that, even though it is so true. But there is definitely pretty privilege in this life. And when you take care of yourself, it shows to other people how to take care of you or how to treat you. So I am someone that's really big on taking care of myself. I get dressed to go to the coffee shop. Like, first of all, I love coffee shops. I love just like sitting and vibing, whatever. But like, I will put on makeup to go to the coffee shop. I don't necessarily do a full beat, but I will put on some makeup to, feel good. I will put on a cute outfit. Like, I do that regularly, and a lot of people don't do that. And I have a quick story time on this, actually. So I posted on Facebook Reels, which is something that I post on occasionally. But I was posting on Facebook Reels, and I posted a video about investing in yourself and how it really shows other people. And it was just like a motivational video for women. And a woman emailed me, totally unexpected. Like, I don't ever get emails. I normally get DMs, but this woman emailed me, and she told me that she was a school teacher, and she was someone that like just does not invest in herself. Like, she doesn't invest in how she looks. She just like, wears the same like sweatpants and doesn't wear makeup. And she had this gala that was coming up, and she was like, I really don't know if I'm gonna go to this gala because I don't feel confident that I have the ability to get dressed up. Like, I don't think that I haven't got dressed up in years, so I don't think that I can actually like get myself dressed up. But she forced herself to go, and she forced herself to like get her nails done, and she like figured out the last minute like how to do her hair, and she ended up like getting a dress and an outfit, and she got dressed at night, and she realized she didn't have any shoes, and she was like, shit, like, I really don't want to go because I don't have any shoes, and like, I just feel like I would look a mess. But she's like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna go. So she ended up going, and she was like, I had a good time and I was happy about it, but I was really still like kind of pissed that I didn't have any shoes, because I didn't feel like I was like dressed up as much as everyone else is. I personally am a shoe person, so I definitely get why she wanted to have the shoes. But anyway, she said she saw my video, and she was like, you know what, this girl is right. Like, I actually should start to invest in myself more, because one, I won't have to do this last minute running around whenever I have an event that comes up. But two, it actually is noticeable. And she said, again, she was a school teacher, that her students notice when she like puts on makeup for the day, or she like, they notice when she like puts effort into her outfit. And she's like, you know, it's something that's so simple. Like, obviously she's not trying to impress anybody at the damn school while she's teaching a class, but it is important to just like look good and feel good. And especially when she said that when she dresses up, like her students will make comments, positive comments towards her about, you know, how they like, you know, whatever she did that was different. And she was like, yeah, I actually am like really encouraged to start to like invest more in myself, invest more in my appearance, because I realized that it does make me feel good when other people just like give me a small compliment about like, oh, I like your hair today, or oh, I like, you know, that you like look nice today, or whatever. So anyway, all of that to say is that investing in yourself can be so many different things. It can be financially, it can be, you know, your retirement, it can be in your appearance, especially for a woman. Your beauty does matter, unfortunately. That's just the world we live in. So it's not going to change tomorrow. Get with the program. And it doesn't necessarily require you to wear a ton of makeup, but like just look like you take care of yourself. Look like you care about how you look. Look like you didn't just roll out of bed 5 minutes ago. It does matter, and it also affects your mood and your energy and how you show up throughout the day. Moving on, the other thing that people talked about, and I really, really like this one. I love this conversation. And that regret was not moving from their hometown. And I was always someone that's like, I can't wait to get out of this town. I can't wait to leave this hometown. I can't wait to leave. Not because it was all that bad. I mean, it wasn't like great, like it wasn't my favorite place to be, but I knew that there was other things out there in the world for me. And I personally didn't know anyone that I moved out of their hometown, anyone that was an adult when I was growing up. So like my family members, my neighbors, all those people, they lived very close to their hometown. Like they would go home and be like, oh yeah, I grew up here. And I didn't like that concept. I was like, so you haven't gone anywhere else? Like I just have always had this explorative, adventurous spirit, and I've always wanted to move somewhere else. Thus why I now live in California and not in New Jersey. But I do know quite a few people who I went to school with, both college and graduate school, who just stayed where they were. Like they graduated and they're like, all right, I'm going to stay here. Or they graduated and they moved back home. And a lot of them have very cookie cutter, like similar lives to each other. And it's interesting because quite a few of them were like, I would never move back home. Like, I'm not going back home. I don't think there's anything wrong with moving back home, but I do think there is something wrong with not ever experiencing something outside of your hometown. Like living in a totally different environment from your hometown really does change you, and it forces you to grow in ways that you just would not have to, especially if you live somewhere or you move somewhere where you don't necessarily have like a ton of family to rely on. I'm not saying you have to become this hyper independent girly, but it does force you to be independent in some way and really fend for yourself as a human being and learn how to take care of yourself and also do it really well to live a good life. I would say my biggest glow up has happened when I moved across the country. And it's insane to people from my hometown that are like, oh my gosh, like, why would she just move across the country? Like, that's so crazy. But to me, it's just so normal. Like, why wouldn't I? Like, I don't have anything attaching me to this city. Also, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for me for content creation in my hometown or in Delaware, which is where I went to graduate school. So it was like, why would I, stay here in this place? I feel like if you really are forced to grow when you move out of your comfort zone, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, all of those things. So I stand by my decision of moving out of my hometown. I know some people who are also transplants that live here in LA that I am friends with, and they're like, yeah, I feel like I have become more of an adult and more of myself because I'm, one, away from people who weren't good for me, and two, because I'm in a completely new, different environment, it's also just changed my mindset. Moving out of your hometown is really the life hack to leveling up your life, especially if you're just graduating college, if you are just wanting something new and different for yourself. Like I know people who get divorced and they move somewhere else. Like they're like, oh, I don't have to live here anymore, so I might as well just move. And I love that for them. I literally love that. Like, and you don't have to necessarily move for a job either. Like you can just move just for the hell of moving. Like it doesn't have to be a big thing, but I'm really happy that people talked about that in the comments. So they're like, I feel like that was the thing that I missed, that I didn't do. And because of that, they're kind of like feeling stuck in their situations. Not to say they can't move, but it's because like their life is kind of built around obviously where you live. But I think more importantly, you are a combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you spend time with people who have also never experienced living out of their hometown, all of your mindsets combined, like the person that you're going to become or morph into is going to be just like a carbon copy of them. And you're all doing the same things, right? Like you're not really challenging yourself. You're not expressing yourself. You're not reaching your full potential that you can actually reach. So I think it's so important to move out of your hometown. And I'm so happy that people talked about that in the comment section. Now, the last one is so good. Oh my gosh, I saved the best for last. The last regret that a lot of women talked about in that video comment section was not trusting my instincts or my women's intuition. Ooh, I can write an essay on this one. Oh my gosh. So when people made this comment, it was typically related to staying in a situation too long, even though they knew that it was time to leave, right? Or knew that, this situation was going to be good for them. So it could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be a friendship, whatever. Or they knew like their spidey senses were going off and they were like, something about this doesn't feel right. And they ignored it, right? And I think one of the most common questions that a lot of younger people, especially like in their late teens, will say, like, how do I know if it's intuition versus just like my anxiety? And intuition is just so calm that anxiety is kind of like racing thoughts, whereas intuition is kind of like, no, that's not right. Like it just feels very calm. I think that's the best way for me to describe it, especially because I am someone who does have anxiety. And I'm also someone who didn't listen to her intuition at some points. And what do you know? I should have listened to it. So I think having a woman's intuition is just so incredibly powerful. And a lot of women need to learn how to listen to it. The easiest way to learn how to listen to your intuition is to slow down. So slow down your nervous system and start to like self-regulate your nervous system. So not acting emotionally, not responding emotionally, and instead just like giving yourself time to pause and reflect and not react. So just to give you an example of a situation where you would kind of follow your women's intuition, it's if like when you meet someone for the first time and you're like, something about this person, I don't really like them. But then you keep going out with them. You keep hitting them up. Like you keep hanging out with them outside of work, right? Like it's like, something's not right here. But like you keep doing it anyway. So that's like an intuition nudge or an intuitive nudge. Another intuition that people will like not listen to is like when they get different ideas or stuff where they're like, oh, maybe I should create content. But then they let someone else talk them out of it. Or they let their thoughts start racing and be like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know if this is good. Oh my God, I'm going to be cringe. So they just like let like the anxiety kind of kick in, and the anxiety just has, again, racing thoughts. So you just get all these different thoughts in your mind that a lot of times don't make any sense. Sometimes they are rational, but for the most part, they are irrational. Another example of not following your intuition is when you like meet a man, and this is specifically with men, and you just feel uncomfortable. Like you can't quite explain like why you don't feel right, but you're like, something about this isn't like, I don't know what it is. That's your intuition telling you get the fuck away from that man. So yeah, I'm really happy that people talked about not trusting their instincts and their women's intuition, because it is our greatest superpower as women. And it is so important when you're making major decisions, but also like minimal decisions. So you can test it with something like really small of like, oh, maybe I should go to this coffee shop that I've been thinking about for the last few days. Women's intuition. Or, oh, maybe I should like pick up this book that a few people have been recommending to me, even though I've never really like read a book in this genre before. Like that's like a little bit like of an intuitive nudge of like, yeah, go do it. Yeah, go do it. And again, the best way is like really slowing down your nervous system and figuring out how to not react, not get emotional, not respond, and just pausing to listen to your intuition. So yeah, I really, really liked doing this video. I also liked that women commented on the TikTok video that I posted. If there's any regrets that you guys have, if you're someone that's over 40 and you're watching this and you have some regrets, please put them in the comments, because I know that women that are in their younger 20s and probably even younger will definitely find this incredibly, incredibly helpful for them in making some really important decisions in their lives, because I do think it is so important that as humans, we have a very satisfied life and don't allow things to really get to us. Like I am a big, big supporter of people going after their dreams, no matter how delusional. So always encourage people to go after things that they want. And In case you wanted more of some background or more of a convincing, there's this really good book by Bonnie Ware. It's called The Top 5 Regrets of Dying. She is a palliative nurse, and she is taking care of a lot of people that are on their deathbeds. And she talks about the 5 most common regrets. I think a lot of those regrets is a combination of men and women. Of course, my video was specifically talking about women, but again, it just gives you insight on like how people feel like they are living their lives, whether it be a satisfied life that it's happy and calm and, has joy and all these things that they love, or a dissatisfied life where they feel guilt and displeasure and just like really regretful about their lives. So hopefully this video was really helpful for you guys. If it was, let me know by giving a thumbs up and leaving a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next Vlogmas episode. Bye.